Okay, we are live. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is to look at the debate outline that we all compiled. So we all just inputted all of our main points into here just to get the flow of how it's going to go. Who knows when to...
I wrote a lot just because I'm going to be introducing people for my own. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is to look at the debate outline that we all compiled. So we all just inputted all of our main points into here just to...
Is everyone else hearing my voice?
Yes, I hear it.
It was like a playback. No, like I was hearing a playback of myself.
Yeah, there's a little feedback, but it's okay.
No, it was like I completely finished talking. A minute later, like Emily had said something, and then like 30 seconds later, I was hearing what I had just said.
Oh, no, that didn't happen.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not hearing it now.
I'm going to close all my Google stuff in YouTube.
Okay, so anyway, we are gonna... This is just there for know when to talk when. Okay? And then... Frequently asked questions are at the bottom of this.
It's not staying on your... Maybe I should just click on this. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote...
We have
questions.
3 questions in there. Does anyone have any other questions to add?
Did someone just add them?
I just wasn't sure if they're general or more specific.
They're really just time fillers, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, and then we'll just mock run through the debate.
Cool.
Nothing fancy, just get a gist of who's going to talk when.
Well, what I would really like to see that I've seen in these videos is I want to really, for us to try to make it as natural as we can. I understand you're going to read, but, I mean, come on, reading off. I really like that point you said, Sarah. I'm going to say this. Can we make it...
I mean, actually make it seem like we listened to the person who talked before us.
Not like, oh, I agree, but this is what I think. You know, let's, you know, hey, this is our group, and this is what we're discussing, and this is what we're passionate about. That's why we chose this topic. I mean, honestly, we didn't pick the topic. We picked our topic, but there was very narrow choices. So, okay, that's what I was thinking, if we could kind of really know what we're talking about, basically.
Okay.
Well, I think if we make it more conversational, not like make it like one of our regular discussions, not like we're doing a debate, you know, because like I think that's what screws everybody up is they start acting like, oh, this is a debate, and then they sound like robots.
Well, we're not doing a formal debate anyway, so I think it's kind of supposed to be more like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking.
We'll make sure that we sound that we're prepared, too. Okay. Maybe I say a lot to make sure that we have an action plan, just like this. And if we need to refer to it, that's awesome. But make sure we have read over it multiple times before we go and videotape this. So do you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, if we just go, just wing it, it will just kind of see what everyone has to talk about. That way we can, next week when we actually record it, have an idea how to make it conversational.
Okay, so just before clarifying, I'm going to clarify. So when I go, say I go over the introduction, I say, well, the next, so how would I segue into different parts? How would you like me to phrase it?
Well, if we're doing it kind of conversational, should the next person just kind of interact with what that person just said to segue versus having it formally introduced? Like if we're all
Am I
introduced.
supposed to? Okay. So I didn't know
Also-
as an like my role, I'm supposed to. Are we gonna get penalized for not introducing it the way she defined it? You
Well,
understand?
I'm thinking the way that you're thinking is the formal version. I don't have that
Okay.
paper with me.
Okay. Okay.
But
I'll introduce
I
it.
think as long as like the beginning, the introduction is clear. One of the things on the rubric though is that the structure of the debate is outlined at the beginning.
Mhm. Okay. So I'm gonna go over the introduce the group,
Hmm.
and that will be our outline for the group. So, anyways, I'm going to probably read off what I wrote this
Okay.
time. But then when it comes to the debate, I'm going to make sure that we can do bullet points.
Okay, yeah.
So, I'm going to say, hi, my name is Emily Dale. We have chosen, or Emily Dale Garcia, we have chosen to introduce our topic and discuss it as an informal debate. I'm going to introduce our group members. The introducer is Emily Dale Garcia. It's me. Working together as a summarizer, illustrator, and researcher for the con side is Emily Dale Garcia. That's me. And Lindsay Buck. Working together as a summarizer, illustrator, and researchers for the pros, that is Brandy and Alexandria. Let me call you Allie or Alexandria.
It doesn't matter.
The fielder is Allie, Alexandria, and the timekeeper will be Brandy. All right, so Brandy, you're going to be keeping time. How much time do you want each person to have?
No more than 5 minutes.
No more than 5 minutes, or are we talking about? I think we should maybe. I mean, okay.
No.
What if,
know,
as the
'cause, well, we
timekeeper,
didn't-
you just gave us throughout the debate a 5-minute mark? Like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
it's been 5
perfect.
minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 15.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I meant no less than 5 minutes, but anyways, long day. So yes, I'll just keep time and I'll let you know when it's been 5 minutes and 10 minutes. You
Okay.
just need to do this.
Mhm.
Okay.
Really good idea. So, our topic is whether the mandate free to public education, FAPE, should be included mandatory ABA services for children and youth with autism in schools.
Wait, there's a word. It's free and appropriate public education.
And appropriate. What did I say?
Just free. It says free and public education.
Free education for everyone. Okay. So our topic is whether the mandate free and public education, right?
Free and appropriate.
Free and appropriate. Free and appropriate. Hold on, I totally deleted that.
Won't be picky on everything, but our debate
no.
topic might need to be.
Yeah, I deleted that. So, should free and appropriate public education be included? Wait, there's something I totally typed this up. Don't laugh at me. He's laughing at me. Free and appropriate public ed. Should free. I actually prepared for this.
Can we discuss when I start the timer? Do you want me? I already started it. Do you want me to turn it off?
I mean, this is just pretend, so.
Yeah, we are just
But
really
I have
making
to practice.
should free and appropriate public. So it should free and appropriate public education include mandatory ABA services. Yeah. Okay, our topic is whether the mandate should free and appropriate public education include mandatory ABA services for children and youth with autism in schools. There are many ideas, mentalities, and opinions when discussing what children deserve in a school setting. However, each and every one of us would most likely agree that each of our children deserve the very best education. According to the Individuals with Disability Education Act, IDEA, requires states to provide a free and appropriate public education for each individual educational need. In fact, the mandate free and appropriate public education, FAPE, requires educators to provide the highest quality individualized programs and other specialized services to promote academic development. As a group and through research collected, by providing ABA services, professionals are able to utilize valuable tools that not only decrease problem behaviors, but also increase the productivity of students. In spite of this, every professional service, whether it be a teacher, ABA therapist, or a principal, there are many negatives to review. Among ABA and special education, there are theoretical and practical and ethical issues that should not be ignored, but carefully reviewed and considered. In spite of the negatives, much research continues to support ABA in school settings. By implementing the principles of ABA, applied behavioral analysis in a school setting, professionals can implement life-changing tools that have the potential to alter outcomes of children with special needs. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
So then then Lindsay would jump in and like.
Do I start right away, or do you say, yeah, Lindsay's going to start off the pros section? I mean, con section.
So then you could also say, as Emily previously said.
Okay, so we're not introducing. That's the formal thing, right?
Right. Yes,
Okay.
you don't make a conversation. Like, as Emily said previously, and that
Yeah.
there are many negatives.
Emily mentioned there are some theoretical and
In
practical.
Emily's section, we still need her to outline how the debate's going to flow. So, like, when you're mentioning that it's an informal debate, maybe mention that it's going to be conversational. After we make our introduction, we're going to go through the cons, flow into the pros,
Okay.
and we'll end with some questions, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Should that
Sorry.
be before the intro, or probably before?
Yeah, before the intro.
Okay. So working together as a summer. Okay, so we're gonna flow the. So I can say like the schedule is going to be. I'm going to introduce what our topic's about. We're going to move into the con section. Flow eventually. Then we're going to discuss the pros of our subject, and then conclude, and then have questions at the end, basically.
Yeah.
I'm going to start writing that down. So go ahead and discuss. And Lindsay, I think how to segue, like I said, from the intro to the cons is kind of segueing, connecting it to the first paragraph. Because I do mention the theoretical issues.
Okay. So as Emily previously mentioned, there are some theoretical and practical issues with including ABA services in special education. According to Axelrod, Moyer, and Berry, the image of ABA impacts whether or not people accept ABA in the schools. Some of the history of ABA gives a negative outlook of ABA in special education. Punishment procedures were used many years ago where some procedures were tested on animals and then were used on humans. Also, some procedures were used on people that were not always humane. At times they were abused or restrained. Now ABA requires evidence-based treatment, and there's a code of ethics that is required to be strictly followed for all ABA services. Also, reinforcement procedures are to be used before any punishment procedures are implemented. Another reason that people are not in favor of ABA in special education is because they are not wanting to change disciplinary procedures. For example, for teachers who have been in the school districts for many years, they don't accept it because of their experience. They often feel that they already know how to handle disciplinary problems, and they don't want to have to follow strict guidelines of how to take care of problem behaviors. Also, people are afraid of trainings and how time-consuming all of the training for ABA services could be, as well as it can be difficult to implement school-wide because of all the trainings and strict guidelines to follow. Another reason that people do not want ABA in special education is because the interventions for children are written for those students who have frequently occurring behaviors. So sometimes the teachers or school professionals don't know what to do in circumstances where new behaviors arise. So let's say that there's a behavior protocol written for a student who hits other kids, but he stole something. So what do you do in that situation? Also, what to do for behaviors for kids that don't have behavior plans. So kind of an overall guideline for behaviors that arise that there's not already a treatment plan in place. According to Axelrod, Moyer, and Berry, some of the terms used in ABA can kind of put a negative spin on the ABA services as well, including punishment and negative reinforcement. People are used to the terms punishment meaning like spanking or harming others, when ABA uses punishment to mean a decrease in behaviors. And negative reinforcement may sound like using not preferred ways to reinforce, when, according to ABA, it means the removal of something to increase the behavior. Also, sometimes people view ABA to have an overuse of positive reinforcement. Teachers can find it difficult to reinforce all positive behaviors with a class full of many students, and sometimes it can be difficult to ignore negative behaviors, like when a student does something and the whole class starts laughing. Another negative view of ABA is the use of jargon. Sometimes in behavior plans, terms are used that are not always known by others, so the behavior plan could be implemented incorrectly. With theoretical and practical issues of ABA in special education, there are also some ethical points. What should I call it? Ethical cons? Ethical situations that can arise?
Maybe ethical concerns that could arise.
Yeah, there are ethical concerns. Are you segueing to mine?
I am. Can you give me feedback real quick, though?
Okay, yeah. You use also. That was the only thing.
Okay. I'm really bad at just winging things, so I'm trying to make this really conversational while just using bullet points. So I'll try my best, and maybe I'll have it printed out, because I was kind of reading it on the screen, so you probably wasn't really looking at the
That's
camera.
Another girl who took this before me, she said she displayed it on the screen, and that's how she read it. That was the only thing, maybe some more transition words, but besides that, I thought your points are straight.
Yeah.
Okay, do I need to keep on going back to the main topic like I was? Another theoretical and practical, or just keep on going?
I don't know. I thought it sounded very cohesive, and I didn't get lost listening to you, so I kind of like the way you did it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right, Emily, go ahead and take on the ethical concerns.
I am the other con side. There are many ethical concerns and dilemmas that arise in any profession, especially medical profession, and there are ethical guidelines that not only protect professionals in the field, but also protect the consumer and make sure that the consumers are getting what they pay for and also that they're getting quality services. It's really, really important when people are paying a lot of money, and we're talking about ABA services here, because we're talking about ABA in schools, wait, maybe I should start over, because I got kind of lost. Okay, let me back up. So, there are many ethical concerns and dilemmas that happen in a school setting and in a private setting. These ethical guidelines are created to guide professionals in a way to not only protect themselves, but to protect the consumer. So we're going to go through some points that arise and are on the con side of why ABA could add to more ethical dilemmas within the school setting. So, the importance of ethics first helps support fundamental decision-making within practice, protects the professional and the client's needs, just like I said before, ensures quality care and responsible decision-making is being provided. It also gives clear guidelines to what is expected from the professional. You get what you pay for type of thing. So, the first ethical dilemma that's going to be arising that we're going to discuss is the subjectivity and the requirement of moral decision-making. There is tons of gray area when discussing decision-making within a special education setting. Many questions arise when much decision-making is left to the teacher. Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, requires states to provide a free and appropriate public education for each individual educational need. Think about that in kind of a broad sense. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of needs. In fact, the mandate of free and appropriate public education, FAPE, requires educators to provide the highest individualized program and other specialized services to promote academic development. What does that even mean? How would you, as a professional, interpret these mandates? Do you think that mandates are written in a way that could be misinterpreted? Do these mandates sound too broad or vague? As a professional myself, as an ABA professional, I could read this in so many ways and take it as it's up to me to figure out what this child needs. That's a lot of pressure. According to Quartade, and is it Luo, 2008, many IEP and special education decisions are left to the teacher to exercise objective professional judgment. But professionals are often use personal morals to make decisions. In fact, there are many situations that occur in special education setting which has no clear answer as to how to solve a problem. As a result, educators are required to rely on objectivity and subjectivity together at the same time to use personal morals to make a significant decision, which could have life-changing effects. Unfortunately, this quality education is often watered down and basically making the school only provide a bare minimum of treatment. Basically, in layman's terms, the school promises you the Chevy, but not the Cadillac education. So they're going to give you something that's going to get you somewhere, but it's not going to probably be luxurious or everything that you need. Of course, everyone would love a Cadillac. Wouldn't that be nice? Anyways, the challenges when implementing the next... Sorry, I'm probably segueing this. Okay, the next challenge is when implementing creating programs. Creating appropriate goals can create many questions in a professional's mind and puts a lot of pressure on the teacher, a lot of responsibility, and we don't know what the training is. So what is appropriate for the student? Should that be left up to the special education professionals? Should the child have functional teaching versus life skill training? So implementing, creating programs, there's just a lot of gray area and a lot of questions. What is the most beneficial for students? What is the skill providing? What's the highest education? What's the highest quality? Can this skill be generalized to other environments? Should training okay, wait. Okay. I'm just having a hard time connecting these. I made some grammatical problems. Okay. So, what skills can be generalized to other environments? Again, like I said before, my first point is that these teachers have a lot of pressure on them to make the decisions and how they interpret the law. So the next dilemma would be assessments. The assessment need is that many of the assessments that are already created for students are not appropriate for students with special needs. So it's up to the teacher to create appropriate assessments, not only measure where they are in the beginning of the year, how they progress, and where they are now. Okay, so not only is that difficult, because not only are the teachers not trained, but again, there are many questions that arise. What is a good measure? I need to be able to measure how far the child's developed since starting school. What is a valid measure? If I create an assessment tool, is it telling me what I need to know? Does a child need an aid to take the assessment? If the child is provided an aid, is that a valid measure of the child's skill? So many of these ethical dilemmas arise. Again, is the development of assessment tools a responsibility of the special education teacher? Okay, we're almost done. So the next dilemma, training. Is there a clear lack? There is a clear lack of training in special education. Of course, for example, there are hundreds of disorders, and to know how to provide services for each one, it would be almost impossible. However, according to the mandate idea, individuals have to be trained and have the knowledge and skill to meet the needs of students. We all know that this isn't happening. Decisions of how and whom to train are left up to administration and educational professionals. And again, dilemmas can occur. How do we prepare teachers for such a diverse community? Should there be one lead teacher, or should there be multiple teachers to be trained in ABA? Should the school hire an outside consultant? Should that consultant be responsible for training the school staff? How much can the country or the county or school spend? Often a child has multiple disorders and needs which require specialized training. This again is often left up to the teacher to figure out how to deal with a child while somehow providing quality education. In conclusion, there are many questions that professionals encounter on a daily basis. The main question is training worth the time and money to teach special education teachers how to implement ABA? In fact, ABA is complicated and requires immense amount of training. Even if training was provided, who would be responsible for maintaining the fidelity for each individual teacher? So that was it. I know it was a little choppy. As I read, I noticed I had some typos I could clear up. But it's choppy, wasn't it?
No, it was good.
But it was
Really?
very, like, impromptu good. So, like, I didn't feel like I was listening to someone read a research paper.
Okay.
Well, you had a good flow from your main point.
Hmm. That was good.
Make sure that I get all the typos out, so then I'm like, what am I, what, okay. So, do you have any questions? Should I add more? Should I take some away? I mean, I don't even know how long that lasted.
Yeah, so what time are we at about right now? Do you...
Emily, if you look, does it show when it's live streaming, like, how long we've been talking?
It does not. It does
I
not.
think it started
It's been about
a little after
20
6.
something
I
minutes.
mean,
Okay, Lindsay, I do need to tell you something. What I noticed. Maybe can you put more meat into what you're saying to make it longer?
I can try. I mean, that's kind of like my main points from what I wrote.
Okay.
So researching more, I can kind of think of more ways to elaborate.
Maybe elaborate, like the questions or an example. Like you gave great examples about, why. Um, what were you saying? Why to like jargon and stuff. Maybe give examples to using some very complicated ABA. I don't know. But we do have those questions at the end that can take up some time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Allie, should I say, well, so I'm going to just end with that question. If you
Okay.
maintain the fidelity of a teacher, pause for a second, then it's going to be your
Okay.
because that will be my ending sentence.
Okay, that works. So as Emily and Lindsay were talking, there are always going to be ethical dilemmas. No matter what we're talking about, no matter what the subject is, ethical dilemmas are going to arise. And everything has a past. With ABA, we know the past hasn't been that positive. But as things seem to change, and all the research we've done for this project, we've come to the conclusion that ABA overall, it's proving more effective compared to past behavioral options that have been presented for students with autism spectrum disorder. So just one reason that we have come up with to support all children who have autism spectrum disorder of having these ABA services is that it will allow them to more easily assimilate into the general education classroom. There was a study published by the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry that claimed that children with ASD who received these special education services from an early age actually have a better chance of losing their diagnosis. Autism Speaks Chief Science Officer Jerry Dawson, in response to the study done by the Journal of Child Psychology, actually made this statement. We know that high-quality early intervention optimizes the outcome of individuals with autism. While only a minority of children will lose their diagnosis, the study shows that these positive outcomes are possible. This offers hope and underscores the need to continue to advocate for better access to early intervention for children with autism. There was also another study done, and in this study, they took children who were aged from 18 to 30 months old. The study lasted for 2 years, so they started at 18 months, some started at 30 months. From 2 years from the age that they started, they implemented ABA services. Each week, the children would receive 15 hours of one-on-one early intervention, and the early intervention is what was key. These results showed that the intervention helps improve their intellectual ability and reduces autism symptoms years after originally getting treatment. So even with these impressive initial results that the ABA provided, the more everlasting effect was that the positive influences didn't stop there. Researchers went back 2 years after the interventions ended and found that the children who received the one-on-one care saw their autism symptoms reduce further. So obviously the effects of ABA treatment provide children with ASD the hope for a better life. But according to Annette Estes, she was one of the lead authors from the University of Washington at the Autism Center, she also stated that there were financial benefits. People who are better able to communicate, care for themselves, and participate in the workforce at greater levels will need less financial support in their lives. So if children with ASD, when they grow up, need less financial support after high school, the burden of financial support that the community needs to provide will be less. And if we look at the new statistics, we have a chart. If we look at new statistics that have been found by the education, sorry, I can't find the button. If we look at statistics that were found by the, what is that called? I'm so sorry. Can you guys see my screen?
No.
Yeah. I see it.
I don't see anything.
Now I see it, but I did see your picture.
You have
All
to
I see is her
click
picture.
on her picture. You have to click on her screen to be able to view her.
So how do we get it to record?
I think if Emily just clicks on it,
If everyone
It's
clicks on it?
recording it.
Okay.
so the
Whatever I'm
United States
seeing.
Department of Education has taken data all of these years. Back in 2000 and 2001, compared to now, well, compared to the study done in 2012, the number of children aged 3 to 21 years of age who are serviced under IDEA for autism spectrum disorder has increased substantially. So these early intervention services that are provided by ABA will have overall financial support for these children who are diagnosed with ASD. As the chart shows, these numbers are going to continue to rise. The number of children who are being diagnosed is either going to continue to rise or is going to plateau. We don't see it decreasing at any point. So having ABA as an option within the school system would greatly aid this population. However, the benefits would not stop there. Parents, teachers, and administrators would all receive valuable training, and that would better equip them to educate students diagnosed with ASD. So when Emily was talking about the burden that is left on teachers, if ABA services was provided to everybody, not only the teachers, but the parents and the administration, everyone who is in contact with this child, as we know ABA serves, a behavior plan will be in place for the student when they're interacting with everyone else. So not only with their parents, but when they're at school, when they're doing extracurricular activities. So when educating students diagnosed with ASD, it's important to look at the laws that are currently in place. So Emily mentioned the IDEA and FAPE. Well, if we look at the 1997 amendment to the Education of Handicapped Act, it requires that all children receive special needs services in the least restrictive environment. And this is how it's defined: requiring the child to the maximum extent appropriate be educated with children without disabilities. In the same class he or she would have been if for not the disability. So for many students with ASD, ABA services are needed to achieve this. ABA principles and techniques can foster basic skills such as looking, listening, and imitating, as well as complex skills such as reading, conversing, and understanding another person's perspective. All of these skills are necessary to function in the general education classroom. Without the support of treatment for ABA, many students with autism could not be successful in the general education classroom. And this is the optimal, least restrictive environment. That's the end of mine.
That was really good.
It was really good.
I mean, besides, like, all of us have those
Oh, sorry.
flow. All of us have these little flow things, but I mean, once we...
The first time we're running through it, so.
I think it was great.
That was about 8 minutes, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The only one I have
Talked for 8
time.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't seem like that long.
It does. I think I talked for at least 5 to 6 minutes. So, okay, cool. Awesome.
So now it's Brandy's turn.
Okay. So as Emily and Lindsay and Allie, I wanted to say Alexandria, I'm just going to say Allie, have talked about ABA services and the benefits of ABA services, you have to question who is going to do the training and who is going to implement. And as Emily, suggested in her list, who is going to be the one to check the teacher's fidelity? How are we going to know that these interventions are being appropriately assessed, the data is collected correctly, that there is consistency across all measures? Within the ethics of ABA, it is required to have the fidelity and to also have, what's the word I'm looking for? To have fidelity across the treatment and to have inter-observer agreement. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is where the BCBA comes in. The Board Certified Behavior Analyst is a collaborative partner in this scenario. When you're talking about ABA services within schools, obviously your teachers and other staff are going to be implementing them, but the BCBA would be the one overseeing. So they would be the collaborative partner with not only the schools, but the families. Some of the reasons to include their extensive training on behavior analysis, as well as their interventions and behavior measurements. Hold on, that didn't make sense. Having a BCBA on staff in the school system to provide the ABA services would be beneficial not only to the students, but to the teachers. It was discussed earlier that you're asking the teachers to not only collect all of the data, but implement. And whenever the teacher has a class of 26 or 27 students, you're asking them to do this for each student. That's very time consuming. So this is where you'd have the BCBA step in. They would determine the function of the behavior and the intervention, and then they would train the staff to implement the appropriate interventions. So the BCBAs would be valuable in assessing the functions of behavior and providing implementation procedures, as well as providing the necessary training. According to Anderson and Kincaid in 2005, schools usually use a method where the consequences that are applied once the problem behavior has occurred accidentally reinforce the behavior. So in the school system, the consequences are limited to verbal reprimands or detentions or possible visits to the principal's office. The use of these consequences is reinforced because the student's undesirable behavior immediately ceases. However, the difference in this method and ABA methods is it ceases for the instance, but the likelihood that this behavior will occur in the future increases. So the behavior is ultimately, it's no less likely to occur in the future because the consequences have increased the occurrence of this behavior by reinforcing it. So Anderson and Kincaid state that schools may actually be reinforcing these behaviors by providing the individualized attention or escape from the aversive stimuli. Since these programs are not effective within the school systems, the use of behavioral interventions would be a valuable alternative form of consequences. School-wide positive behavior support would be beneficial when applied to all areas of the school to help prevent the development of the problem behaviors, to decrease or extinguish current problem behaviors, and to increase positive social interaction between all students. So not just for the students on the spectrum, but for students all over the school. Using these forms of intervention could be beneficial. Across the school system, it's not a one-size-fits-all form of punishment. It would be more individualized to the needs of each child. With the support of using positive behavior interventions, board-certified behavior analysts are a valuable tool for teaching effective behavior interventions. The school-wide behavior or positive behavior support has been used in schools across different settings and not only proved effective but showed generality. When implementing school-wide intervention, the BCBA become an important collaborative partner, especially in this situation, Bailey and Birch in 2011 provide information on how the BCBA is unique as a collaborative partner because it works with the whole team of the child, or in a school-wide scenario, the team of the school, to help establish the seriousness of the problem behavior, as well as collect the data on the behavior and complete the functional assessment. After the BCBA has defined the controlling variables, they design the plan of treatment. And once this treatment has been approved, it is put into place. In order to ensure effective implementation of these interventions, the BCBA will have to train the team that is going to be involved in the interventions and show how the procedures should be implemented, and then follow up and ensure that these procedures were implemented correctly. Making sure that the staff is trained is important because the behavior interventions are going to be most effective when they're implemented with congruency across all settings and team members. Sheridan and Kurtachwell, 2010, established that the objective of a partnership between members of the team, such as between school and family, is to ensure that children's learning is developed and strengthened across different contexts. So it's generalized to home, school, and public, not just school or not just home. According to these authors, students who experience congruency across these different settings of people, such as home, school, therapy, teachers, parents, and so on, they will transition between these changes in people and settings more smoothly. In fact, the 3 goals of the partnership are to create meaningful roles for the parents in the child's learning, promote continuity, and enhance the competencies of the participants involved. The BCBA carries the most importance as a collaborative partner when it comes to training the teams to appropriately and congruently implement interventions, as well as overseeing the implementation and data collection. The BCBA is adequately educated on conducting a functional behavior assessment, which determines what the motivation for the behavior is. The BCBA is not necessarily involved to implement procedures on their own, but to specifically train the members of the team in the ABA procedures. This means that the BCBA is not necessarily working around the clock, nor getting paid around the clock when you're looking at the financial aspects for the implementation of interventions, because they are simply training the already involved staff and family members to proceed with the interventions that have been deemed necessary. According to these sources, a BCBA is important to the collaborative relationship because they mediate the intervention across all team members by providing appropriate training and oversight, as well as data collection.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was 8 minutes as well, so I think we're definitely on time.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I was pretty much reading, but I was like so nervous. Like, it didn't matter that I went over this and tried to get it in my head before. I was like, I don't know.
I think I maybe need to read more because I'm not good at elaborating, but I can read and make it look like I'm not reading.
Okay.
Did I look like I was reading?
No.
Okay, good. That's all I
Brandy,
want.
I thought your transition between mine and your section was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I was worried about that too. I was going to ask how I did on the transition.
No, it was good.
Okay.
Okay. So our conclusion. How do you want that to go?
Don't we have one in our paper?
We do. So let's think. So since Emily introduced, I'm going to do the questions at the end. Brandy's doing timekeeping. Lindsay, would you want to do the conclusion then?
That's fine. Can I just go along with what we already have?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just make it meaty. You know, we're gonna go with a time, and if we need more time, just have maybe just be prepared. I don't know. How are we going with the questions as like our meat, as like extra time?
I don't think we're going to have an issue on time.
I don't either.
Has to have questions. Oh shoot.
Yeah. I think it's more going to be like eliminating questions to make sure we don't go over our 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if each one of, like, 2 of us, we know for sure we're at 8 minutes, that's 16 minutes. And if all 4 of us are at 8 minutes, that's already 32.
Mm-hmm. plus our introduction is
Mhm.
a good bit.
So I'm more concerned about going over time than being under.
Emily, in your introduction, do you want to make a note that in the, like, for who's doing what, that Lindsay's going to do the conclusion?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
All right, I'm just looking up our paper to find the conclusion. Okay, it's just the last paragraph, right? Okay. Based on the laws established to promote the betterment of education for students with special needs, it is clear that students with autism receiving supports the ABA services would provide falls under these laws. Despite the arguments against the implementation of ABA in schools, the study presented showed that the cost-benefit ratio reigns in favor of mandatory ABA services being provided. Students with autism spectrum disorder who receive early intervention services of ABA will be better assimilated into the general education culture, as well as having an established groundwork of necessary skills that provide the building blocks to continue learning for the remainder of their lives. ABA services not only provide immediate benefits within the classroom setting, but they equip students with autism spectrum disorder to live better lives past graduation. Despite, I'll make sure it's already on that paper so I'm not strong. Despite practical issues and ethical dilemmas, research has shown that ABA is the best known educational strategy for children and youth with autism and has the strongest evidence supporting its implementation as a mandatory service provided under free and appropriate public education. Do we need to, since it's informal, do we need to say that we support this?
So as a group, we support ABA as the chosen behavioral practice within a school setting.
Yeah, do we need to mention that?
Yes.
It's in the rubric.
What's that?
I think it's in the rubric that you have to clearly
Okay, so overall, add on to the end, say, overall, we support and believe that ABA services should be in schools.
Yeah.
And then, no. Okay, and then I'll already state in the beginning of the movie, not the movie, but our presentation, that Allie was going to do the questions. So then we'll kind of jump in and do the questions.
Okay.
And those you will read off. Right?
I haven't even read them, so this might be a little rough.
That's okay. I'm sorry I'm eating. It's around my dinner time right now. So let me.
What'd you say?
Sorry I'm eating while talking to you. It's around my dinner time. Or later. 9 o'clock. Proceed.
Okay, so now that our debate has come to a close, we realize that there are some frequently asked questions that we simply wanted to address to clear things up. The first one is, why are ethics so important in a medical profession? Well, ethics are simply guidelines that are designed to navigate professionals through fundamental decision making. These established principles ensure that clients' needs are being met and upheld while professional decisions are being protected. An ethical code makes certain consumers are being provided with quality care and responsible practices in accordance with the best interests of the client and profession. When we look at the laws in regards to the mandates IDEA and FAPE, or is it just IDEA? I've heard it both ways. Mandates IDEA and FAPE, what often occurs after reading these? Well, it's frequently misinterpreted by professionals and families.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Did I write it wonky?
no, I'm just trying to think. So when many people who are not familiar with the laws that are put in place to support students with special needs, there are misconceptions and people misinterpret what is being stated. So when we look at IDEA and FAPE, the schools often think that the bare minimum is sufficient for students, and school administration has promised you the Chevy, which is reliable, but not the Cadillac, which is the most luxurious education. So many people coming in, many parents and many people supporting these students with special needs are expecting more than what the school system is necessarily going to provide.
Exactly, that's perfect.
Also, too much responsibility is being left up to the teacher, especially when teachers do not have sufficient training to make life-changing decisions, which is why we are in support of ABA being implemented in the schools, getting some of these teachers the appropriate education that they need to provide that appropriate education for students with ASD. So all the research has shown that early intervention services is the top priority. It's the best way for students with ASD to strive. So when thinking about these early intervention services and how they're key, how early can one detect diagnosis? When should early intervention actually begin? So though autism cannot be definitely diagnosed until around 18 to 24 months of age, the research shows that children as young as 8 to 12 months may exhibit early signs. So parents should look for symptoms such as no back and forth sharing of sounds, smiles or lack of smiles or other facial expressions by 9 months. There's no babbling or back and forth gestures, maybe pointing by the age of 12 months, or any loss of babbling, speech, or social skills at any age. These would all be indicators of ASD, and you would want to look into some early intervention services. A final question that has come up that we feel would be frequently asked is, why are professionals involved in special education opposed to ABA in the schools?
I just added that, so sorry I don't have your answer for you. I'll type it in there, though, when I see the conclusion and all that.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm feeling good about this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fine.
So just like I said, we just need to iron out some flowing issues. But besides that, I think it's going to look good.
Yeah, we've been recording for about an hour, and most of it we were actually doing the debate, so we'll definitely be okay with time.
Okay, so when did we decide to do the debate? I'm going to write on my calendar.
Hey, Brandy, when we hit the 40-minute mark, can you, really make sure we know? Maybe even just type it over here in the chat.
I was thinking that I would do that because we definitely don't want to go over 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I don't really want to do anything like this because then it's going to be confusing. But if I type it in...
Why don't you get a flashlight and turn it on and off?
Okay.
Why, can you just type it in the chat each time? Because we haven't been able to see other people's chat. Or do they want it to be obvious that you're showing us?
I think that it's supposed to be obvious, that we're keeping time, but I'm just thinking, mainly for me, if I'm not looking at the screen when the 40-minute mark hits, I don't want to go over with the questions, because that's where we're going to shave off time or add time, is with the questions.
Well, then, as it gets to your section, I think one of the biggest things would be to make sure you know how much time is left.
Yeah.
And then, are you going to print it out, or are you going to be looking at it on your screen?
I was planning on looking at it on the screen.
I was going to say, if you printed it out, you could at least leave it on the video. That way you could see us.
Yeah. I'll do that for the questions.
That's what I was talking about, was for the questions, because like you said, that's where we're going to shave off time.
So now I have it on the split screens. Do you know how to do that, where you push it against the side, and so half of it's on that, and then half's reading?
Yep. Can do that.
I didn't think of doing that. But
So, when are we recording this?
Tuesday at 7:30.
7:30. Okay, I'm ready to go.
7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central.
Correct.
And I might be a couple minutes late because I get done right at 7 your time.
That's okay. We can just make sure we're ready to go. Have it Remember to hit the start button.
Okay. When does it have to be posted by? It has to be posted by what?
That following Sunday.
Okay. So as soon as we do it, we should just go ahead and post it. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, of course.
that way we don't have anything else to worry about. We'll be, after that, we're done with this, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we just need to remember we still have to submit our group logs and just say that our project
Yeah,
is
I just plan on entering all the group logs for the rest of it after we're finished. Like,
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
that way we don't have to think about it every week. It's just done.
But maybe we should like still continue be friends and
Yeah.
video talk every week.
Oh, yeah.
We should find each other on Facebook. You guys have been awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
well,
okay.
and Brandy and I know we're going to be in the same class, one of the same classes next semester.
Try to get
You're gonna
in.
be in-
I'm doing Merbler, I think.
Is he the first half?
He's the first half. And I'm doing
Yeah,
his.
that's
So
the
just
one I was
email
trying
us if you can get in it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do that. And then I'm taking 610 and 611. And then in the summer, I am taking 689,
Can have
691,
another
and
group
whatever two
project.
electives. Then I'll be done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Bang.
Woo!
When are you done, Lindsay?
Next semester, I only have verbal behavior and management left.
Me too. I'm in management, and then I'm in the practicum. Verbal behavior is not too bad, but you have to like say 45 terms on a video in 1 minute. I'm at about 30.
About that. Talk
Are you
really
Hate
fast.
it. What?
Are you
Talk
serious?
really fast.
I can't even hear you.
You have to talk really fast so you can say them all in that amount of time.
I don't talk. I mean, I talk fast, but not that fast. And I might just settle for 39 instead of 45. Because I just don't want to
What number is that course?
put.
You know?
No. I go by the names.
See, I go by numbers.
I really do.
Next semester, I have 636, 689, and 691.
Yeah, I
And one of those is verbal behavior.
Oh, yay. Well, then that means I'm taking verbal behavior in the summer.
It's not that bad, actually. You get these really annoying Skinner questions, but as long as you answer them, they're going to give you full credit.
Okay.
Cool.
But obviously, act like you answered them and read it. Like some random stuff. Okay. Well, I guess we probably shouldn't. Never mind. Okay. That we probably shouldn't have said that. Anyways.
What? Oh, we're
this
we're
is-
still live.
Yeah, we have.
I so just posted my Facebook name, and we're still live.
I don't think it shows up.
What?
Okay.
I don't think our group chat shows up on the feed.
Oh,
Like,
Well, we're talking live.
Yes, we are talking live.
Are we gonna get? Hopefully, we don't get in trouble for this. Oh well,
I don't think it's going to be watched.
maybe.
Especially not after 50 minutes of it.
All right. Well. Anyways, you guys have a good night. Are we done?
Yes.
All right.
night.
Well,
Good night.
good luck. See you Tuesday.
All right, see ya.
Good night.